Welcome to another episode of Candid Convos. Today's guest is Rich Bracken. Rick is an award-winning salesperson, marketer, and client service expert with a passion for speaking, consulting, and coaching. He has served numerous Fortune 100 clients and is a notable media personality with appearances in ABC, ESPN, Thrive Global, Vice, and Goldcast. With an upcoming TEDx stage performance, blending data and research with emotion and case studies, he shares insights and strategies on how to implement sustainable, positive change. He is an energetic and vocal advocate for business navigation, leveraging the power of emotional intelligence, empathy, and mental awareness. We're honored to have you on our digital stage. So Rick, thank you very much for joining us, and thank you for your time.
Absolutely, Joe. It's fantastic to be here. And, honestly, with a name like Joe Bravo, I don't care what's in my profile or my intro. Like, I can't stand up next to that name. That is amazing. So I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled to talk with you.
It's too bad that I don't have the hairdo, though.
You know what? I'm sure Zoom's probably got some sort of a thing that we could do. Like, if you could change your background, you could probably change your hair. But you rock it, man. I can't rock that look because my head is so misshaped. So all due respect to you. So you were rocking it very well, my friend.
Thank you very much. And now you are in my good graces. Now you have a seat at my table for Christmas. So Rick, let's get started on this. How did you get started on your journey? What put you in the path of emotional intelligence?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. I actually have been in the legal world as a business development manager, director, and consultant for almost 10 years now. And I think it was probably a year into my foray in the legal industry that I found myself on the wrong side of an EKG machine. I thought I was having a heart attack. I drove myself to the ER, wound up in the ER attached to the EKG machine. And the doctor thankfully came out and said that I wasn't having a heart attack. I was having a massive panic attack due to the stress of working in the legal environment, a very fast-paced, large firm. And so as a business development manager, that was tough because I wanted to be able to serve the people that I was working with, but I also had to figure out how to take better care of myself. So my ER doctor and I got in a conversation about emotional intelligence. And it really is all about professional and personal happiness, stress management, anxiety management, and really regulating your emotions and those of the emotions of people that you work with. And so I started studying emotional intelligence, went headfirst into it. And the more I learned about it, the more I understood that it was universally applicable to everyone. And so I started applying things to myself and started seeing a lot of really good change, started sharing that with some colleagues and friends. And then finally, I was also kind of, as an aside, born without that fiber that makes you afraid of like stages and crowds and public speaking. I just don't have that. I thrive. That's my home, right? And so I figured if I have this passion for this topic and I have this ability, I need to marry the two of them. So my first speaking engagement was at a Legal Marketing Association conference for financial professionals and legal project managers. No offense, because I have a lot of friends in those areas. It was not a conference that you expected to see emotional intelligence on the agenda. As a matter of fact, I was the only non-legal, non-financial, non-legal project management topic on the agenda. So I was like, okay, this is either going to be a completely dead, empty room, or it's going to be wall to wall. There's no kind of gray
There's
area.
no middle ground there.
Yeah. Right. No middle ground on emotional intelligence at a legal marketing conference. And it was wall to wall people. And I understood at that point that I was onto something. And so the more I talked about it, the more, organizations, and I was speaking with my attorneys, I was speaking with other colleagues in the industry. And so for the last 7 years, I've been speaking around the globe about emotional intelligence specific to the legal industry, but also with every industry, because again, it's universal in applicability.
Okay, so if you started in the legal industry and then it just it broadened up, it gave you a more of an audience to work with. That's actually how we came to know you. We saw you at the ALA conference, and then our brand ambassador got close to you, started asking questions, and we're very fortunate to have you because of that. I'm very interested the fact that lawyers are looking into emotional intelligence as one of those special moments at a conference or a special moment in their lives. I completely agree with you. Emotional intelligence has a room for everybody in any aspect of their lives. So let me focus a little bit on the lawyer aspect of this. What have you discovered to be the most helpful thing for lawyers when it comes to well, emotional intelligence, but let's open up that subject a little bit. Connecting with other people, being truly empathetic with them, like actually having active listening conversations with them instead of just like going for a billable hour. What would you say would be that one thing or those special things that this specific subject has brought to the lawyer life?
Sure. So I will say, first and foremost, the good news, or let me start with the bad news. The bad news is that the legal industry has the second lowest emotional intelligence of any industry or any profession in the country. But the good news is that unlike your IQ, your EQ, your emotional intelligence, your emotional quotient can be improved. And I know how competitive attorneys are because I've worked with my fair share of them. So the idea that could actually improve these things through small tactical strategical changes in their day is impactful. And I've worked with so many thousands of attorneys around the globe on how they can do that. So I think there are a few things. I mean, I can go on for hours about the different benefits, but the couple that I think are the most impactful, number one, is time management. Because, again, the billable hour rules the day in the legal industry. But what happens is you get into a habit of booking back-to-back meetings or running yourself into the ground or trying to wear the badge of honor of I worked the most hours in 1 week. That's not sustainable because we are all human beings. I know some attorneys probably are raising an eyebrow. They're like, not me. I'm not a human being. I'm a legal robot superpower. But at the end of the day, it's going to wind up burning you out. So I always tell people book what I call adult passing periods. And what this does is, if you go back to your high school days, in between classes, you have, 5 to 7 minutes, depending on the size of your school, to go from one class to the next. With client meetings, with internal meetings, with everything else, we don't give ourselves that time anymore. Everybody's like, oh my gosh, look at my calendar. It's so booked and it's back to back to back to back to back from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Well, you're not giving yourself any time to delegate opportunities or delegate work. You're not giving yourself any time to return phone calls or emails. You're not giving yourself time to just catch your breath in between meetings or take note or take action on something that came out of the meeting. So imagine you work with a client, they give you 5 or 6 really critical things that need to get done, but then you got 7 meetings back to back after that. What is the efficiency that you're going to have in either delegating the tasks or trying to do them yourself? And maybe it's done until the end of the day. And then by then you're mentally wiped out. So giving yourself that 5 to 10 minutes between meetings allows you to do more things in that time. The other piece, and you kind of touched on it a little bit, is that resilience, we'll call it active listening, those types of characteristics are so critical when it comes to client service. And attorneys are the ones that they need to be hyper focused on their client service. No matter if you're serving an individual or an organization or a company, you need to be focusing on engaging that client, making sure that they're taken care of, making sure that they are really getting what they need. So on the front end, you touched on it, active listening is so critical. If you're listening to talk like a lot of people are, you're missing out on things that are being said, body language that's being displayed, tone that you may miss out on. Because if you're listening just to say something, you're missing out on all of those things. So active listening is a big increase when you start increasing your emotional intelligence. The big advantage comes into active listening, but then also empathy. Because, and I talk with a lot of law firms about this when they deal with their in-house counsel, and I work with a ton of in-house counsel too. And so I sit in the middle of that conversation. And what's funny to me is that a lot of attorneys don't just reach out to their clients to say, hey, how's everything going? How did I do? How did our team do? How did we manage this matter for you? How did this case turn out for you? Because they don't want that potential negative feedback.
Yeah.
And that comes with that mentality of perfectionism, right? They went through law school to be perfect. You have to be perfect with the law to succeed, right? So that's that mentality that you get into, that you can't make any mistakes. So they'd rather not ask and hear and pass by the opportunity to hear that they're doing something bad. But the thing is, and I always call it the breakup mixtape, right? I'm old enough to remember breakup mixtapes where, your client's not going to send you a breakup mixtape. They're basically just going to walk their business to another firm. So if you're not paying attention, you do a lot of work to bring on a client, but if you're not paying attention to your client, you're not going back for feedback, you're not asking them what else they need, you're not asking them what other goals they're trying to achieve, they're going to go find somebody that is going to pay attention to them. And trust me, there are countless firms that probably want your client's business. So it's a lot easier to keep a client than it is to go get a new one. So if you invest a little bit of time, take a little bit of humility, and take that feedback from your client, you're never going to give feedback to somebody that you don't want to ever do business with ever again. You're going to get feedback because you want them to improve something. That is actually going to strengthen the relationship.
But let me ask on a different matter now, because I'd like to flip the script a little bit, but stay on point when it comes to EQ. So this happened, like many of the statistics, I believe that this happened before 2020 and after 2020. So you got a lot of people that were struggling to connect with others, no matter the type of results that they would get, hopefully the best type of results, but the best kind of results. But then the pandemic hit, and there was a lot of talk in these type of subjects of, okay, so we're losing touch with other people. We're losing face-to-face contact. We can no longer even hold hands. We cannot hug. There's a pandemic. Everybody's radioactive. And now everything is done virtual. And the world is beginning to evolve. Like the fact that we've gotten a chance to get to know each other because of Charlotte, and is someone that she is one of my co-workers, a teammate and a friend. I've never met her face-to-face, but I can tell you, and this is the weird part, I've developed, not only with her, but also with all of my teammates and with people all over the company, I've developed a personal relationship, and with many of them, friendship, that it's very productive. It's on time, it's on point. And yet there's this sensation of maybe because everything is so far from each other, we don't have that type of relationship, or we will never be able to build up to a true relationship or to a meaningful partnership if we don't get to know each other. What are your thoughts regarding virtual workplaces and engaging with someone else with all this EQ background on it?
Sure. No, it's a phenomenal question. I think the pandemic did a couple of different things. Number one, it gave introverts a safe harbor. So I work with a lot of attorneys who are devout introverts. They don't want to be in an office setting. They don't want to socialize a whole lot, and that's fine. That's when they're in their comfort zone. On the flip side of that, I've worked with a lot of attorneys that are very social, or they want to be around their teams for either social reasons or, unfortunately, sometimes overly controlling, managerial reasons. So, it really split the fold. And so I think that the one thing that the pandemic also did was that it revealed that we are truly, at the end of the day, all human. We all have our limits. We all have our personalities. We all have our backgrounds. And I have been curating this background of my Zoom image for months. This office has gone through so many iterations because I wanted to share my story. I wanted to have elements within me because this is my personality. There are so many Easter eggs of stories behind me, but it spurs conversation. And that was one of the things when I was in sales at the very beginning of my career that really helped me to develop relationships. When I would go in and talk with a manager or a purchasing manager or a doctor, I would look around their office and I would pick out something in their office and ask them questions about it. So, if you're talking with somebody, don't be afraid to say, "Oh, I see you got some artwork on the wall. Tell me more about that." Again, it's developing relationships. We all love it when people inquire about us, when they want to get to know us. So why wouldn't you do that with your client? Go past the, how is your day going? Like, what's your favorite thing going on right now? What is the one thing that did you learn something new over the pandemic? Or did you learn in the pandemic that you don't like learning new things? That's okay too. And really understanding that those relationships, because I will say the same thing that you said about Charlotte. Like, I have a lot of people, colleagues, friends around the world that I have never met and may never, ever meet in person. But I have phenomenal relationships because we've been transparent. We've been interested in each other. We've been supportive of each other, both personally and professionally. And that goes a lot further. I wouldn't trade those relationships for the world. And yes, I have made some dynamic in-person relationships in my career. That goes without saying. But I think we are quick to discount the virtual component as Zoom fatigue or I gotta do it. But this has opened up the playing field for networking, for relationship building, for getting to know. I have gotten to know more people in more crazy places and big companies and people that I would have never had the opportunity to connect with. Celebrities, Grammy award-winning artists. Like, I've had conversations with people virtually because of all of this.
Yeah.
So there is a silver lining to be had. If you haven't found it yet, pick 5 people. Pick 5 people that aren't in your immediate proximity set up a 15-minute Zoom call just to say, hey, I want to get to know you better. I want to find out what's going on in your world and see if I can do anything to connect with you, support you, be a big fan of you. Those kinds of things go a long, long way. So again, I think it's so people are so quick to discount the virtual thing because we were kind of forced into it, but it is an actually very valuable asset to have.
Yeah. I couldn't agree with you more. I really like the way this conversation has been going. Unfortunately, we have run out of time, but however, I would like for everybody that's listening and everybody that's watching to know where they can find you and what you can do for them.
Sure. Yeah, they can find everything about me on richbracken.com. All of my social media handles, my LinkedIn connection is there. And really what I've been doing a lot in the last 6-7 years is working with attorneys and firms to leverage their emotional intelligence for better client service, better personal and professional happiness. So I've been doing presentations and workshops for law firms. And I've also been coaching attorneys on better presentation skills. So whether it's they want to be better on webinars or better in front of a conference or better talking with their clients, I've worked with them individually, and I work with Fortune 50 in-house counsel and startup law firms, solo law firms, attorneys that just want to be better presenters. So either helping them be better professionals and people, or helping them be better presenters. So they can find everything at richbracken.com.
Perfect. Well, you heard it from him, guys. Everything that you know or everything that you need to know is already out there. A very powerful ally. I hope that they reach out to you, Rich. But again, we have run out of time. So thank you for your appearance. Thank you very much for your knowledge and for sharing your opinion. And I hope to see you soon in the future.
Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate the time and I appreciate the conversation with you as well.
Okay. Well, guys, see you next time in another episode of Candid Convos.